All right, welcome back for chapter 20, everybody. So chapter 20 is going to be other social movements. Basically, we're going to cover 1960 to 1975. We're going to talk about the women's movement, the Native American movement, the Asian movement, the environmental movement, and also the Latino movement. So today we are going to cover section 1. Tomorrow will be 2 and 3 because they're both short sections. And then on Thursday, we'll be covering section 4. And as of right now, I don't think I will be giving a test on Friday, but that's still up in the air just because we have another 2 chapters to get through before the end of the year. So, with that being said, let's get going on chapter 20. So, inspired by the civil rights movement, women, Latinos, Asian Americans, and Native Americans will struggle to achieve equality in the 1960s and 1970s. Through protests, the movement for social change will affect almost every aspect of American society, from environment to, to consumer awareness. So, the African American struggle for civil rights made the women aware of the disadvantages that they faced in society. This awareness led to feminism, or the theory of political, economic, and social equality of the sexes. So by the 1960s, the stereotype of married women in the home raising children was starting to disappear as more and more women started to get jobs. So about half of all women held jobs at this point in 1960. Many better educated women were discouraged by the discrimination they faced when seeking jobs or job promotions. So this is going to be something that's going to lead to this feminist movement. Women also found themselves underemployed or performing jobs and earning salaries below their abilities, and that the glass ceiling prevented them from reaching the upper levels of management even by the late 1970s. And women would be paid less for doing the same work as men, and this led to them to start demanding change. And so the civil rights movement provided a model for techniques and an inspiration for action. It was, however, the Civil Rights Act of 1964 that provided women with the legal tools for fighting discrimination, though getting people to take women's issues seriously would prove very difficult for them. So people aren't going to be really necessarily ready to listen to women in their positions. The civil rights organizations also gave women second place roles. They weren't really the people you saw on the front line, it was mainly the men that made all the decisions. And also, the EEOC, or the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, didn't take women's problems or complaints all that seriously, which made it really, really difficult for them to be enforced. And it won't be until women's support groups will help raise awareness um, for women's consciousness about their lives in new ways. Members of these groups or clubs would include student radicals, draft opponents, and workers for welfare rights and other social issues. So these support groups are going to be talking about how they're going to start bringing about change for women. And the women would be inspired by the ideas of Betty Friedan's book, The Feminine Mystique. And so that's going to be about basically women breaking the stereotype and becoming their own people. And so, as women compared experiences, they looked for ways to expand their efforts to bring about change. And by 1966, NOW, or the National Organization for Women, was formed by 28 professional women to take action to bring American women into full participation in the mainstream of American society and to achieve equality with men. And so this would be very, very difficult, but they would eventually start seeing some success. So a lot of their issues would revolve around getting fair pay and equal job opportunities, attack sexist stereotypes, slogans, and photographs, and get a balance in marriage with men and women sharing parenting and household responsibilities. So these will be the 3 things that NOW is really pushing for. So the National Organization for Women will serve as a focal point to end sexual discrimination and to promote equality for all women, though not all women agreed with their methods or goals. Um, and this goes back to, well, you can't make everybody happy because some women felt that now was too extreme and others felt that it was not extreme enough. And some minority groups thought it focused only on white middle class women, which it kind of tended to do a little bit. So non white women, or even women not in the middle class that were white, kind of felt left out by this. And so the growth of feminism did bring a shift in attitudes among women in America. There were new changes in career goals for women, such as business, law, the military, publishing, and magazines. Will all be career fields that women are going to start breaking into. In 1971, the National Women's Political Caucus will expand women's participation in politics and promote awareness of women's issues, job opportunities, childcare, health issues, and domestic and sexual harassment. In 1972, Gloria Steinem introduced Miss Magazine as one of the new books and magazines that helped encourage women to pursue their interests outside the traditional realm of American society. And she would sell 300,000 copies in just 8 days of this magazine. And so basically, it's going to be a magazine encouraging women to get out and be their own people. But despite shared concerns, the women's movement remained divided in its goals of moderation versus extremism on several different issues. The first would be Roe v. Wade, which is a 1973 Supreme Court decision that legalized abortion within the first 3 months of pregnancy based on an individual's constitutional right to privacy. And that's kind of all we're going to go into on that because there's a huge debate around it, and we're not going to go there. So, the Equal Rights Amendment, or the ERA, which was proposed and passed by Congress but was not ratified by enough states, which you need 38 to do, to take effect by 1982. So you have to have at least 38 states pass this bill within a certain time frame, which never ended up happening. So the Equal Rights Amendment kind of died out, even though now they are starting to call for a passage of a new Equal Rights Amendment in Congress today. And so opponents of the women's liberation movement became more determined and vocal in their opposition. Phyllis Schlafly was a leader of conservatives who argued that women already had enough legal backing for their rights, and she felt that she didn't want things to change. Some women wanted to stay home and raise their children in that traditional role, and they didn't want to feel kind of stereotyped or prejudice against them for not wanting to conform to what this feminist idea is, and they wanted to be able to just stay at home and take care of their kids like they always have. And some African American women felt that fighting racial discrimination was more important than sexual discrimination at this time. And many working class women felt removed from the women's movement altogether and didn't want to do the unpleasant paid labor that their husbands did. So these are all going to be reasons why people are against the women's movement. Um, but in the end, it will be fairly successful. They will get a lot of changes. However, it's just not going to be immediate changes. And women today still struggle with promotions and things like that in today's society. So you can't think that it's 100% fixed yet at this point because there are still a lot of issues out there. So make sure you do the Google form today. That will be attached in the description of this video. And if you have any questions, please let me know.